The year was 2047, and humanity had finally extended its reach beyond Earth with small but thriving colonies on the Moon and Mars. Scientists at NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Station in Arizona noticed something strange one quiet Tuesday morning. The readings from their quantum sensors at the edge of the solar system showed unusual energy spikes that didn't match any known natural phenomenon. Susan Miller, the lead astronomer on duty, rubbed her tired eyes as she stared at the screen. She had been working for 16 hours straight, but these readings were too important to ignore. She reached for the secure phone and dialed her supervisor. "John, you need to see this. Now." Within 3 hours, the top scientists and military officials from around the world were connected via secure video conference. The energy signatures had multiplied. Whatever was out there was massive, and it was approaching our solar system in a formation that couldn't possibly be natural. "Ladies and gentlemen," said General Frank Cooper of the United States Space Force, "I believe we are looking at first contact." The room fell silent. Decades of wondering if we were alone in the universe were about to end. Dr. Samantha Wright, the world's leading xenobiologist, spoke up. "If these readings are accurate, we're not dealing with a small expedition. This is an armada." The next day, the objects began to slow down. They positioned themselves in a perfect sphere surrounding the entire solar system. There were thousands of them, massive ships larger than anything humans had ever built. The formation was unmistakably military. The world's governments tried to keep the information secret, but amateur astronomers soon spotted the ships. Panic spread across the globe as images of the alien vessels flooded social media. Stock markets crashed. Religious leaders called for calm, while doomsday cults celebrated in the streets. 5 days after the initial detection, the aliens made contact. Every electronic device on Earth simultaneously received the same message, translated perfectly into all human languages. "Attention, primitive species of the third planet. You are now under the jurisdiction of the Galactic Empire. Your solar system has been claimed. Prepare to receive our ambassador within one rotation of your planet. Resistance is both futile and unnecessary." Ambassador Kyle Peterson was awakened at 3 a.m. by the President's Chief of Staff. By noon, he was in the White House Situation Room, with Dr. Wright, General Cooper, and a dozen other experts chosen to represent humanity. "Why me?" Peterson asked, his voice betraying his anxiety. He was an experienced diplomat, but his expertise was in Middle Eastern affairs, not interstellar relations. "Because you have a perfect record of peaceful resolutions in impossible situations," the president said. "And right now, we need a miracle." The landing site was chosen, a flat area in neutral Switzerland. As the designated time approached, military forces from around the world positioned themselves discreetly, not to attack, but to observe and respond if necessary. The alien ship descended silently, a sleek vessel that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. It was small compared to the massive ships orbiting the solar system, but still the size of a football stadium. It hovered, 10 feet above the ground, and then a ramp extended to the earth below. Peterson stood at the designated spot, Dr. Wright beside him. His heart pounded so hard he worried the aliens might hear it. 3 figures descended the ramp. They walked on 2 legs, but that's where the similarities to humans ended. They stood over 7 feet tall with iridescent blue skin that seemed to shimmer with its own internal light. Their forearms moved with precise fluid motions. Their faces had no nose, just breathing slits, and their eyes, 3 of them, were completely black. The center figure wore an elaborate harness embedded with pulsing lights. It spoke, and a device on its chest translated. "I am Supreme Commander Zortak of the Galactic Empire. You stand before the representatives of a civilization that has existed for 50,000 of your years. We have conquered 732 species and 12,431 worlds. Today, your species joins our empire." Peterson cleared his throat. "We welcome you to Earth, Commander Zortak. I am Ambassador Kyle Peterson, and this is Dr. Samantha Wright. We represent the United Nations of Earth. We are interested in peaceful exchange of knowledge and culture." The alien made a sound that the translator didn't convert. It might have been laughter. Your species is primitive. You have barely left your planetary cradle, yet you speak of exchanges as if you have anything to offer the Empire. Zortak's middle eye narrowed. We do not exchange. We command, and others obey. Wright stepped forward. Commander, surely a species as advanced as yours recognizes the value of biological and cultural diversity. Earth has unique silence, Zortak interrupted. Your role is not to suggest, but to listen. The Crixian Empire requires this solar system for its resources. Your species will be preserved, though relocated. This is generous. Many species are deemed unnecessary. While this conversation was happening, Navy Captain Laura Miller was observing from a hidden bunker 2 miles away. Her team was running experimental quantum radar scans of the alien ship. What they discovered was odd. The ship's energy field fluctuated when exposed to certain frequencies in the electromagnetic spectrum. Keep scanning, she whispered to her team. Something's not right about their shielding. Back at the landing site, Peterson was trying to maintain diplomacy. Commander, our people will need time to adjust to this news. Perhaps we could establish a longer timeline for any transition. Zortak's body stiffened. You mistake this meeting for a negotiation. Primitive. It is merely an announcement. The alien extended one of its 4 arms and a holographic display appeared in the air. It showed Earth from orbit, surrounded by thousands of Crixian warships. You have 7 rotations of your planet to prepare your species for processing. After that, we begin resource extraction. Any resistance will result in planetary sterilization. With that, the aliens returned to their ship. The ramp retracted and the vessel rose silently into the sky. Peterson turned to Wright, his face pale. 7 days. They're giving us 7 days before they enslave or kill us all. As the alien ship disappeared into the clouds, Captain Miller stared at the data her team had collected. Get me Dr. Aaron Jackson at MIT, she said urgently. I think I found something, and we have less than a week to turn it into a weapon. In underground facilities around the world, military leaders were already making plans. Humanity had built weapons in secret, just in case a first contact went badly. But even their most powerful nuclear weapons would be like throwing stones at a hurricane against the Crixian Armada. As night fell across a terrified Earth, Dr. Aaron Jackson received Captain Miller's data. The physicist stared at his screen for a long moment, then began to laugh. This can't be right, he said to his empty laboratory. He ran the analysis again. The results were the same. The Crixian technology had a weakness, one that no one could have possibly predicted. Jackson picked up his phone and dialed Dr. Olivia Martinez, the world's leading expert on human brain-computer interfaces. Olivia, it's Aaron. I need you to drop everything and come to MIT now. I think I know how we might save the world. News of the Crixian ultimatum spread across Earth like wildfire. Panic erupted in major cities. Some people fled to rural areas. Others cleaned out grocery stores and gas stations. Religious gatherings swelled as many sought comfort and faith. A few even celebrated, believing the aliens would bring advanced technology and solutions to Earth's problems. They were wrong. The United Nations Security Council met in an emergency session that lasted through the night. Ambassador Peterson briefed the world leaders on his meeting with Zortak. They see us as insects, Peterson said, his voice tired but steady. They're not interested in conquest or even enslaving us. They want our resources and we're just in the way. The Russian president pounded his fist on the table. Then we fight. We have nuclear weapons. We have particle beam technology. We will not surrender our planet. Our most powerful weapons would be useless against their technology, General Cooper replied. It would be like trying to fight a tank with a slingshot. While the world's leaders argued, Dr. Aaron Jackson and Dr. Olivia Martinez worked frantically in the basement lab at MIT. The room was crowded with advanced equipment, holographic displays and half-empty coffee cups. Look at this again, Jackson said, pointing to a display showing energy patterns from the Crixian ship. Their technology operates on quantum principles we barely understand, but there's something familiar about these patterns. Martinez, who specialized in the interface between human brain patterns and computers, studied the readings. They look almost like neural oscillations, but alien. Exactly. Jackson's eyes lit up. And when Captain Miller's team scanned them with our quantum radar, the signals created interference patterns. But only certain frequencies caused the disruption. Martinez pulled up her own data. I've been mapping those frequencies against known human brain activity. She displayed a new chart. Look at this. The frequencies that disrupted their shields match human brainwave patterns during specific emotional states. Jackson stared at the screen. That's impossible. How could an alien species be vulnerable to human brain patterns? Before Martinez could answer, her phone rang. It was Captain Miller. We're sending a helicopter for you both, Miller said without greeting. Pack whatever equipment you need. You're being moved to a secure facility. 6 hours later, Jackson and Martinez arrived at a hidden underground base in Colorado. Captain Miller met them at the helipad. Follow me, she said. There's something you need to see. She led them through security checkpoints into a massive cavern carved into the mountain. In the center sat a Crixian scout ship, half dismantled. How did you get this? Martinez gasped. It landed in the Nevada desert yesterday, Miller explained. A show of force. We managed to capture it with minimal damage. The crew? Jackson asked. Dead. They couldn't breathe our atmosphere without their suits. We've got their bodies in the medical wing for Dr. Wright to study. Scientists and engineers swarmed over the alien craft like ants. Miller led Jackson and Martinez to a workstation, where a young NASA engineer named Paul Chen was analyzing data. Tell them what you found, Miller ordered. Chen nodded. I've been studying the Crixian fleet's movement patterns. They've surrounded our entire solar system except for one area. He pointed to a display showing the position of the alien ships. They're keeping their distance from Jupiter. Why would they avoid Jupiter? Martinez asked. I don't know yet, Chen admitted. But I've got a theory. Jupiter emits unusual radiation patterns. When I compared those patterns to the data Captain Miller collected from the scout ship, I found similarities to the frequencies that disrupt their shields. Jackson's mind raced. And those same frequencies match human brainwave patterns. We need to understand why, Miller said firmly, and we need to weaponize it in less than 6 days. Meanwhile, at the UN, world leaders had moved from arguing to planning. The option of surrender was discussed and rejected. Even if the Crixians kept their word about preserving humanity, life as second-class citizens in their empire was unacceptable. Ambassador Peterson worked tirelessly, coordinating with military and scientific teams. The public was told only that negotiations were ongoing. The truth, that Earth was preparing for a desperate last stand, remained secret. In the medical wing of the Colorado facility, Dr. Wright made a discovery about Crixian physiology. Their nervous systems are fundamentally different from ours, she explained to Miller's team. They process information through quantum entanglement rather than electrochemical signals. It makes them faster, more efficient, but also more vulnerable to quantum interference, Jackson finished. And human brains naturally produce such interference. Exactly. Wright pulled up a comparison of human and Crixian brain scans. Our consciousness operates on principles that are inherently chaotic to their systems. Martinez had been quiet, processing this information. Now she spoke up. I need to run some tests. If human brainwaves can disrupt their technology, perhaps we can amplify that effect. For the next 24 hours, Martinez worked with a team of engineers to build what she called a mind amplifier. The device captured and amplified human brainwave patterns, converting them into targeted quantum fields. The first test was small scale. They aimed the device at a piece of Crixian technology from the captured scout ship. When activated, the alien metal began to shimmer and lose cohesion. After 30 seconds, it completely disappeared. It didn't just deactivate, Chen said in awe. It ceased to exist. We're not disrupting their technology, Martinez realized. We're erasing it from reality. As this breakthrough was happening, a scientist named Greg Harrison was studying Jupiter's radiation. He burst into the lab, excitement clear on his face. I figured it out, he announced. Jupiter's radiation signature resembles amplified human brainwave patterns because of its unique magnetic field. The Crixians avoid it because it threatens their very existence. Jackson's mind connected the dots. Humans evolved under conditions that make our consciousness patterns naturally destructive to Crixian technology. That's why they never invaded before. Our planet is naturally toxic to them. Captain Miller immediately saw the strategic implications. If we can build enough of these mind amplifiers and get them into space, we could create a weapon that targets only Crixian technology, Martinez finished. But we'd need an enormous power source to affect their entire fleet. At that moment, the base's alarms blared. Miller rushed to the command center. On the main screen, a new Crixian ship was descending toward Earth. It was massive, easily 10 times the size of the scout ship they had captured. "They've moved up their timeline," Miller said grimly. "We're out of time." The countdown to humanity's final stand had begun. The massive Crixian ship hovered over New York City. It cast a shadow that plunged half of Manhattan into darkness. People ran through the streets in terror. Car alarms blared. The National Guard tried to maintain order, but they were fighting, a losing battle against panic. The ship did not attack. It simply watched, like a predator studying its prey before the kill. In the Colorado facility, Captain Miller gathered her team around a conference table. The clock on the wall showed they had just over 4 days until the Crixian deadline. "The ship over New York is a psychological tactic," Miller explained. "They want us scared. They want us divided. We cannot let that happen." Dr. Wright pointed to a screen showing the ship. "Based on its size and energy output, it's likely a command vessel. Zortak might be on board." "Then that's our target," Miller said firmly. "But first, we need a better weapon." Dr. Martinez had been working non-stop on the mind amplifier technology. Dark circles rimmed her eyes, but excitement lit up her face as she spoke. "We've made a breakthrough," she said. "When we were testing different brain patterns against Crixian technology, we found something unexpected." She pulled up a video of their latest experiment. On screen, a piece of alien metal sat on a table. In the background, music played, a classical piece by Mozart. "Watch what happens when we direct amplified human brainwaves while this music plays," Martinez said. The metal began to shimmer. But instead of simply disappearing as in earlier tests, it seemed to fold in on itself, as if being erased from multiple dimensions at once. The effect was faster and more complete than previous attempts. "Music?" Jackson asked, confused. "Not just any music," Martinez explained. "Specific patterns of sound that create resonant patterns in human brains. When those patterns are amplified and directed at Crixian technology, the effect is exponentially stronger. It's like their technology can't comprehend the patterns created by human art," Wright added. Miller immediately saw the potential. "Can we scale this up? Build it into weapons we can deploy against their fleet?" "With the right resources, yes," Martinez nodded. "But to affect their entire fleet, we'd need billions of humans all focusing on the same musical pattern at once." "Global concert," Jackson mused. "The entire human race united in thought." "It might work," Miller said. "But we need a test first." Meanwhile, Paul Chen had continued studying Jupiter's unusual properties. He now burst into the room, his tablet, displaying new data. "I've pinpointed exactly what it is about Jupiter that disrupts Crixian technology," he announced. "It's not just the radiation, it's the harmonic frequencies created by Jupiter's moons. They generate patterns similar to human music." This revelation struck Jackson like lightning. "That's it. We need to position our weapons near Jupiter to amplify their effect." Miller nodded decisively. "We have 3 space vessels capable of reaching Jupiter quickly. They were designed for the Mars colony supply runs, but we can convert them to carry weapons." "I'll need to go with them," Martinez said. "The mind amplifiers will require constant adjustment." "So will I," Jackson added. Miller didn't argue. They were the only ones who fully understood the technology. As preparations began for the mission to Jupiter, the situation on Earth grew more tense. The Crixian ship over New York remained in position. Similar ships appeared over other major, Cities, London, Beijing, Moscow, Tokyo. Each one simply watched, increasing the psychological pressure on humanity. World leaders struggled to maintain order. Some countries declared martial law. Others opened their borders to refugees fleeing cities targeted by Crixian ships. For the first time in history, human nations worked together without conflict or competition. The shared threat had united them. Ambassador Peterson made daily broadcasts, assuring people that negotiations were ongoing. It was a lie, but a necessary one to prevent total panic. In the Colorado facility, Greg Harrison made another important discovery while studying the captured Crixian scout ship. "Look at this," he said to Miller, pointing to a display of alien text they had partially translated. According to their records, the Crixians have encountered humans before, or at least they've heard of us. "What do you mean?" Miller asked. "There are references to a species called the Reality Shapers that the Crixians avoided at all costs. The description matches humans perfectly. They considered our solar system forbidden territory." "Then why attack now?" Wright wondered. "Resources," Harrison explained. "Their empire is expanding too quickly. They've depleted too many star systems. They're desperate enough to risk confronting the species they've feared for generations." This information gave Miller's team new hope. If the Crixians feared humans, that fear could be used against them. 3 days before the deadline, the mission to Jupiter was ready. 3 ships, renamed Defiance, Courage, and Hope, were fitted with mind amplifier technology. Miller would command the Defiance. Jackson and Martinez would be on board to operate the weapons. The day before launch, Martinez made one final adjustment to the technology. She was testing different musical pieces when she noticed something remarkable. "Come here," she called to Jackson. "Listen to this." She played a simple human lullaby while directing amplified brainwaves at a piece of Crixian metal. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The metal didn't just disappear, it seemed to unravel from reality itself, taking a small portion of the air around it. "What was that?" Jackson asked, stunned. "Human emotion," Martinez whispered. "The lullaby carries emotional content: love, protection, comfort. When that emotion is amplified along with the music, it creates a reality disruption field," Jackson finished. "The Crixians don't just fear our brainwaves, they fear our emotions." This discovery changed their strategy completely. The mind amplifiers would now be designed to capture and amplify not just brainwaves, but the emotional content behind them. As the 3 ships prepared for launch, Zortok finally broke the silence. A message was broadcast worldwide. "You're feeble. Preparations have been observed. Your deadline is shortened. You have 24 hours before planetary resource extraction begins." Miller looked at her team on the bridge of the Defiance. "Launch now," she ordered. "We have one chance to save our world." As the ships lifted off, Martinez sent a message to every communication device on Earth. It contained instructions for the Symphony, a coordinated global effort that would be humanity's last hope for survival. The race against extinction had begun. The 3 human ships, Defiance, Courage, and Hope, rocketed away from Earth at maximum speed. Their engines glowed bright blue against the blackness of space. Captain Miller stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching as her home planet grew smaller behind them. "Time to Jupiter?" she asked. 18 hours at current speed," the navigator replied. "The Crixian deadline will hit before we arrive." Miller's face hardened. "Then we need to buy some time." On Earth, Ambassador Peterson requested an emergency meeting with Zortok. The Crixian commander agreed, but insisted the meeting take place aboard his command ship over New York. Peterson was flown to the ship in a small helicopter. He tried to appear calm, but his heart raced as the massive alien vessel swallowed his tiny aircraft into a glowing docking bay. 2 Crixian guards escorted Peterson through corridors lined with technology beyond human understanding. They brought him to a large chamber where Zortok waited on a raised platform. "You waste my time, human," the alien commander said. "Your deadline approaches." Peterson bowed slightly. "Supreme Commander, I come to discuss terms of surrender. This caught Zortak's attention. His 3 eyes narrowed. Your species chooses wisdom, finally. We request one small accommodation, Peterson said. Our religious beliefs require a ceremony before such a momentous transition. A global event lasting 12 hours. After that, Earth will accept Crixian rule without resistance. Zortak considered this. What ceremony? A musical tribute, Peterson explained. Our species communicates emotion through sound patterns. It will help our people accept their new reality. The alien commander made a dismissive gesture with one of his 4 arms. Your primitive rituals are of no concern to the Empire. You have 12 hours for your ceremony. Then extraction begins. Peterson bowed again. Thank you, Supreme Commander. As he was escorted back to his helicopter, Peterson tapped a hidden device in his pocket. The signal went out worldwide. The symphony is approved. 12 hours to save humanity. In orbit around Earth, the Crixian fleet watched with indifference as humans began their ceremony. Every radio station, television channel, and internet stream worldwide broadcast the same message. At exactly 8 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, every human should listen to the same piece of music and focus their thoughts on protecting Earth. The Chosen. Music was simple, a combination of melodies that created strong emotional responses across all human cultures. It had been carefully selected by Martinez and a team of musicologists before the launch. As the appointed time approached, billions of humans around the world prepared. Some gathered in large groups in stadiums and parks. Others huddled with families in homes and shelters. Many were alone, connected only through the shared music that would soon play. In the Colorado facility, scientists monitored global brain activity using a network of satellites. They needed to measure the combined effect of billions of human minds focused on the same emotional wavelength. At exactly 8 p.m. GMT, the symphony began. The music started softly, a simple piano melody that grew more complex as other instruments joined. Across the world, humans closed their eyes and focused their thoughts. They thought of home, of loved ones, of the beauty of Earth. They thought of survival and determination. Most of all, they focused on the idea that humanity would not be erased. On the Crixian command ship, Zortak noticed something unusual. The holographic displays around him flickered briefly. He dismissed it as a minor technical issue. In space, the 3 human ships approached Jupiter. They could see the massive planet growing larger in their viewports. Its swirling storms and massive red spots seemed to pulse with energy. Position the ships in a triangular formation, Miller ordered. We need to use Jupiter's moons to amplify our signal. On the Defiance, Martinez and Jackson worked frantically to prepare the mind amplifiers. The devices hummed with power, collecting the combined brainwave patterns from Earth and focusing them into a concentrated beam. The symphony has reached peak harmony, Martinez reported, watching the readings on her screen. Global brain activity is synchronized at 87%. That's unprecedented. Ready the amplifiers, Miller commanded. Target the nearest Crixian ship. On the eye. First test of their weapon came when a Crixian patrol vessel approached their position. The alien ship was small but still far more advanced than anything humans had built. They've spotted us, the tactical officer reported. They're charging weapons. Fire the mind amplifier, Miller ordered. Martinez activated the device. A beam of pure energy, invisible to normal sight but blazing on their sensors, shot from the Defiance toward the Crixian vessel. At first, nothing happened. Then the alien ship began to shimmer. Its outline became blurry, as if it was losing cohesion with reality itself. It's working, Jackson exclaimed. The Crixian ship didn't explode or break apart. Instead, it simply unraveled. Piece by piece, it disappeared from existence, leaving nothing behind. No debris, no radiation. It was as if it had never been there at all. Back on Earth, Zortak became aware that something was wrong. More systems on his command ship began to malfunction. The holographic displays showed distortions in the quantum fields that powered their technology, Report, he demanded. Supreme Commander, a Crixian officer responded. We are detecting a quantum disruption originating from the gas giant. 3 human vessels are positioned there. Zortak's body stiffened in alarm. Impossible. They cannot have discovered. He was interrupted by alarms blaring throughout the ship. The quantum disruption was spreading, affecting more Crixian vessels. All ships begin the extraction immediately, Zortak ordered. Sterilize the planet's surface. The Crixian fleet moved into attack position. Energy weapons powered up, ready to devastate Earth's surface. But before they could fire, the effect of the symphony reached its peak. Billions of humans, their minds united in purpose and emotion, created a wave of consciousness that the mind, amplifiers near Jupiter, captured and focused. Miller gave the final order. Target the entire Crixian fleet. Channel everything we have. All 3 human ships fired their amplifiers simultaneously. The beams converged, using Jupiter's natural harmonics to multiply their power exponentially. A wave of energy washed over the solar system. Every Crixian ship began to flicker and distort. On his command ship, Zortak watched in horror as his mighty fleet began to disappear. What is this weapon? He demanded. How is this possible? The answer came too late. The symphony's final movement swelled. Across Earth, a triumphant crescendo of human emotion and will. The amplified wave struck the command ship with full force. As his reality began to unravel, Zortak finally understood the ancient warnings about the reality shapers. The humans didn't just disrupt Crixian technology, they could rewrite the fabric of existence itself. The battle for Earth had entered its final phase. Humanity's ultimate weapon was deployed. The question remained, would it be enough to save their world? Zortak's massive command ship began to flicker like a faulty light bulb. Parts of it disappeared and then reappeared in different places. The Crixian Supreme Commander watched in horror as his own hands began to fade in and out of existence. Full retreat, he ordered, his voice distorted by the quantum disruption. All ships leave this solar system immediately. But it was too late. The symphony had reached its peak power. Billions of humans focused their minds on the same music, the same emotions, the same purpose. Their combined consciousness, amplified by Jupiter's natural harmonics, created a wave of reality-altering energy that swept through the solar system. Near Jupiter, Captain Miller watched on the view screen as the Crixian fleet began to unravel. Ships disappeared one by one, leaving no trace behind. They weren't destroyed in the conventional sense, they were erased from reality itself. It's working, Jackson shouted, his eyes wide with amazement. The entire fleet is destabilizing. Martinez monitored the readings from Earth. The symphony is at 98% harmony. This is beyond anything we theorized possible. Miller made a decision. Target Zortak's command ship with everything we have. End this now. All 3 human ships redirected their amplifiers toward the massive vessel hovering over New York. The beams combined into a single pulse of energy that traveled faster than light itself. On Earth, people watched in awe as the enormous alien ship above New York began to distort. Its sleek blue surface rippled like water. Pieces of it vanished and reappeared randomly. The ship seemed to be fighting against its own erasure. Inside, Zortak made one last desperate attempt to save himself. He activated the ship's quantum core, a power source that could destroy half the planet if detonated. If he was going to be erased from reality, he would take the humans with him. Begin core overload, he commanded. His officers tried to comply, but their consoles were disappearing under their hands. The quantum core began to pulse with unstable energy, but before it could reach critical levels, the wave of human consciousness washed over it. The core didn't explode. Instead, like everything else Crixian, it simply ceased to exist. Ambassador Peterson, still aboard the command ship, felt a strange sensation. The alien vessel was disappearing around him, but he remained solid. The human mind amplifiers affected only Crixian technology and biology, leaving everything human untouched. As the ship disappeared, Peterson found himself floating in midair, 2,000 feet above Manhattan. He closed his eyes, certain he was about to fall to his death. Instead, he felt himself caught by something. He opened his eyes to see a U.S. Air Force rescue helicopter that had been monitoring the alien ship. They had swooped in the moment the ship began to disappear, anticipating this exact situation. Perfect timing, Peterson said weakly as they pulled him aboard. Across the solar system, the erasure was complete. Every Crixian ship, every piece of their technology, every trace of their existence simply vanished. It was as if they had never been there at all. The symphony concluded its final notes. Across Earth, humans opened their eyes. Many wept with relief. Others cheered and embraced strangers. For the first time in human history, the entire species had acted as one mind, one will, one purpose. Near Jupiter, the 3 human ships prepared to return home. The mind amplifiers had burned out completely. The technology had never been designed to channel so much power. "Did we get them all?" Miller asked. Martinez checked the sensors. "No sign of any Crixian technology in the solar system. They're gone." "Not destroyed," Jackson corrected. "Erased. There's a difference. We didn't just defeat them. We removed them from the timeline of reality." Miller looked out at Jupiter, its massive form somehow comforting now. "Let's go home. Earth will be waiting." The journey back was quiet. The crew of all 3 ships were exhausted but filled with a sense of peace that came from knowing they had saved their world. When they arrived back in Earth orbit, they found a changed planet. Nations that had been enemies for generations were now working together. The shared experience of the symphony had created bonds between all humans that transcended old divisions of nationality, religion, or politics. Miller, Martinez, and Jackson were welcomed as heroes. They tried to explain that the victory belonged to all of humanity, that it was the combined power of billions of minds that had saved Earth. But people needed figures to celebrate. 3 weeks after the Crixian fleet was erased, Earth received its first communication from beyond the solar system. It came from a species called the Lyrians, former slaves of the Crixian Empire. "People of Earth," the message began, "we have witnessed your victory over the Crixians. For thousands of years, their empire has enslaved hundreds of species across the galaxy. In a single day, you accomplished what none of us could in millennia. You have freed not just yourselves, but all of us." The message continued, offering friendship and exchange of knowledge. The Lyrians explained that news of Earth's victory was spreading rapidly through the galaxy. Other species would soon contact them as well. Some would come in friendship, others perhaps in fear. For the Lyrians revealed something that humans had not yet realized. The power they had discovered, the ability of human consciousness to reshape reality, was unique in the known universe. The Crixians had feared it for generations, avoiding Earth even as they conquered hundreds of other worlds. In the Colorado facility, now converted into Earth's first interstellar communications center, Jackson and Martinez made another discovery. While analyzing data from the Crixian scout ship, they found references to an ancient species called the predecessors. This long-extinct race had apparently seeded Earth with life specifically designed to evolve into beings that could counter the Crixian Empire. "We were a weapon," Jackson said softly, looking at the translated text. "Created thousands of years ago to fight a war we didn't even know existed." Martinez shook her head. "No. We were a possibility. The predecessors didn't make us into weapons. They gave us the potential to defend ourselves. What we did with that potential was our choice. As Earth prepared to take its first steps into the galactic community, humanity faced a new question. Now that they knew the power of their minds could reshape reality itself, what would they choose to create? The answer would define not just Earth's future, but the future of the entire galaxy. For the first time, humanity looked to the stars not with fear, but with hope and purpose. The Galactic Empire had struck Earth. Humans had obliterated them from reality. And now, a new chapter in human history was about to begin.